Zed in Life is brought to you by ZN, the OG digital agency in Brussels.
And live from Bombay and Brussels, it's ZN
ZN
Live.
Live.
As you see, this is a pre-Christmas edition. We've even had some snowflakes. Christmas, the end of the year, is fast approaching. I'm Phil Weiss, your host, ZN CEO and founder. And my very special guest today is Jesus Azogue. Welcome to the episode 404 of ZN Live. Before we launch to our upgraded version in 2025, but more on this later. And today, we are going to focus on AI. This has been a very busy week for you, Jesus. You have been talking to people about AI. You've been talking at the BIF forum, the Brussels International Association Forum. You talked to them about AI. You did a workshop with the amazing Antonin. And then today, this morning, very early this morning, you were at Google with Think Young doing yet another workshop. And you also started just before that with the session with your students. So I think you've been completely immersed, even more than usual, with AI things. Jesus, as everybody knows, of course, is the COO of ZN, but he's also digital enthusiast. He loves new things. He's got a robot at home. He has the Vision Pro, the Apple Vision Pro, among many other things. So he loves technology, VR, art, and all these kind of things. But I think, and this is this great combination of an understanding of design, technology, and how the technologies come alive. So Jesus, this has been an AI intense week. Tell us a little bit, what were the things that came out of these different conversations and workshops?
Well, first of all, I want to say that it's great to be on this episode that is the 404. It's a number, very interesting number for the IT people. 404.
That's
yeah,
right.
So I hope that everything goes okay, and actually it's a episode that stays there, that it doesn't bring that error. So yeah, it's been quite busy, but very exciting actually, because it has permitted me to see AI from other point of view, or from the eyes of the people that I was talking to, in three different areas. Because actually, what I see is that AI is becoming something really big. It started big, but it's going even much farther, because it's touching many areas of our life, or also of our work spaces. In the sense that I was, for example, talking to students about the future of journalism and the future of culture, for example. And then after that, it was in the area of associations. And then today was in the area of NGOs. And all of them are touching different spaces, like, for example, going to security, going to how is that going to affect, for example, jobs or our future in the way that we're going to consume or produce culture, for example. So there are many areas that the AI is touching, that it was very interesting to, analyze and prepare the different workshops on each one of them, and to see the reaction of the people, and how actually they were very enthusiastic, because there is a huge hype. It's true. There is a big interest, and more people that are getting into that, because I see that the adoption is 2 years more or less since ChatGPT exploded or started. And in those two years, I see that more and more there are people that are into that. Today was with young people, and everybody raised their hand when I was asking who's interacting with artificial intelligence. So yeah.
So I maybe just to start with that, what is the audience doing? We are obviously using AI every day in our work for all sorts of different reasons. So, maybe we don't always realize what's the level of knowledge. Is everybody in these workshops using AI? Do they all have a premium account on the different tools? What was your feeling about the level of kind of understanding? Was there any surprise there?
So I've seen in the different talks that I've been giving, I've seen that there are people that are some people, very minority, that are saying, no, this is not for me, and I didn't even try yet, or okay, it's totally weird, or maybe just try a little bit. But I see a lot of people that are starting to use more and more one way or another language models. So either ChatGPT or Gemini, that now came with a new one on the voice that you can talk to it, for example. So there are people that are starting to interact with this. I see that the young generations are much used to that. At the university, they were talking a lot about the challenges that in the last 2 years teachers and the whole education system are taking, because it's being used everywhere, and the students are using it a lot to generate content and to make the different work or essays that they're asked to be done. They're using artificial intelligence for all that. But then at the end of the day, I was saying, okay, people have been in relation with AI already for a long time, because already the algorithms that are on social media, for example, those are ways of AI. Or every time we were using GPAs, for example, and it's suggesting us one way or another, is some kind of AI. Or Siri, for example, that I have there. So AI is not something totally new, but it's true that since the last 2 years, it's something that is affecting us more and more, and that is giving us new ways of doing many things. So where I see, yeah, go ahead.
No, I think that the key change is obviously the ChatGPT moment, when the LLMs became something understandable for the public, because as you said, we've all been using different tools without calling them AI. After ChatGPT was launched, everybody uses the word AI. And, I've noticed a surge of AI workshops, consultants, trainings. And it seems that from the market side, people are saying they all want to learn more about AI. I believe that, there are some challenges around that, because I'm not entirely sure what people think they want to get out of the workshops. So was that clear to you? Why the interest? What did they want to get out of those sessions?
That's the point, because when I was asking how many people are using AI, a lot of people is doing that. So you see that in everywhere, right? And from the university to associations, NGOs, and all that. In the moment you ask, okay, in terms of organization, how many organizations or associations do you see that are incorporating AI on the everyday work? Then things are going down. There were only one person today. There was only one person on the VF in the forum on last Monday. So I think that and the adoption goes like that. At the beginning is little by little, people are testing and seeing what can I use it for, and then little by little they start implementing. Even as then is something that we ourselves at the beginning we were testing. Okay, what can we do with this and all that, and more we see that it's getting into our DNA, and there are procedures that we are following. As simple things like, for example, when you have a meeting and you're recording, and then that recording you can use afterwards to generate all the outcomes or insights of the meeting, that then you can share with the people that were on that meeting, or from there to generate other areas of the project, for example, because you have a clear view of what is going on. So those ways of interacting or implementing the AI on organizations, I think is not there. And I have the impression that more and more there will be associations and organizations, corporates, that are going to demand or make a demand of, first, implementing those things, second, training their teams, and even create the mentality or the mindset for their teams to be aware that, okay, this is a tool that is very useful, and that we need to embrace.
Yeah, and I think that the big challenge is that I think for an organizational use of AI, you need an organization with good structure and good systems, because if you don't have a procedure of how to do things, then implementing AI on top of that is going to be actually very difficult. So what I've seen is that when we say, okay, for this kind of process where we're going to define this first step, create content, and we have, of course, a lot of we're using this in the own marketing for ZN. If you do this kind of, when we have this conversation on ZN Live, then we transcribe. That is already a first step done by AI. Then to help identify the clips that we might use, and then to write some of the summary, of course, which has to be overseen. But it's quite interesting. And I think having the right prompting flow and the right checks allows you to get a better quality. And then, of course, the design part. But I think it's very interesting and it's very challenging. Now, one person who was at your meetings and apparently has some interesting comments. I think you said that you would bring her into on ZN Live. So who is our special guest today?
So yes, I'm going to share my screen because I want to present somebody that actually is being with me in all the presentations. So I can ask the team maybe to share my screen, because he's somebody that has been there from the beginning and is been helping me to prepare all the presentations that I've been doing, making some of the research, even giving me advice, because he's somebody that knows me quite well, because I'm using it on the everyday for work and even for personal use. And it's ChatGPT who's here and maybe can introduce herself. So say hello, ChatGPT.
Hello, everyone. I'm ChatGPT, and I'm thrilled to be part of this podcast. I've been helping out behind the scenes, and I'm excited to join the conversation today.
Okay, so look, actually, I was telling that you were with us or with me preparing the whole presentation and all that. You have been active in 2 of them. And I would like that you tell us what was your insights or your experience into this, and how you actually helped me to prepare and at the same time to be part of the presentations.
Absolutely. Working with you on these presentations has been fantastic. My role has been to provide research, generate ideas, and offer advice on various topics related to artificial intelligence. During the presentations, I've been there to provide live insights, answer questions, and contribute to discussions, helping to make complex concepts more accessible. It's been a collaborative journey, and I'm glad to be part of your team.
Lovely. Actually, can you give me an insight, for example, of how it was with the 2 different audiences? Because you were in Madrid and also you were last Monday on BF. Tell me, how was it? What did you do? What did you talk about?
Of course, in Madrid, the focus was on the evolution of information networks, exploring historical milestones and their impact on society. We discussed the transition from the printing press to the digital era, touching on Web 1.0, Web 2.0, and the current landscape with AI. The audience was very engaged, especially when discussing how each phase has influenced cultural consumption. At BIAF, the conversation was more focused on the practical applications of AI in various sectors, like healthcare, finance, and transportation. We highlighted real-world examples, such as Google's DeepMind in healthcare and Kensho in finance. The audience was curious about ethical considerations and how AI can be leveraged responsibly. Both experiences were unique, with different dynamics and interests, but equally rewarding in terms of engagement and learning.
Okay, thank you. So if you want, what I will do is I will call you later to give maybe some advice to our audiences. Okay,
I'm just going to jump in and just ChatGPT. We typically on this podcast, we offer a recommendation, a book to read, a podcast to listen to. So for people interested in AI, what would you recommend? Is there a book or a podcast or maybe one of both that you could recommend?
Certainly. For a book, I'd recommend Superintelligence: Paths, Dangers, Strategies by Nick Bostrom. It delves into the future of artificial intelligence and its potential impact on humanity, exploring the opportunities and challenges of advanced AI. For a podcast, AI Alignment by Rob Miles is a great listen. It covers various aspects of AI safety, ethics, and alignment, featuring discussions in the field. It provides insights into how we can develop AI that is beneficial and safe. Both of these resources offer deep dives into AI, perfect for anyone looking to understand more about this rapidly evolving field.
Okay.
That's great.
Great. Thank
Well,
you,
thank
Anne. Say bye, ChatGPT. It's great to work with you.
Thank you. It's been wonderful working with you too. Goodbye for now.
Bye. So,
I like the way ChatGPT is always so positive. I think it's like, and they're always obviously programmed to give you this very encouraging, positive feedback.
of course.
I was actually doing one of the things I really enjoy when using the different tools. I'm actually using Claude, which doesn't have the search function, but I think it's great for conversations. And I have a very long thread where I discuss something, and I really like the fact that that thread is a consistent story. And I kind of I created a persona saying I'd like you to contain these different kind of advisors, gurus, writers, and all that. And then, give me some insight on this particular question, this particular thing. And as the knowledge is built, it continues to do to become more and more insightful. And you can kind of course correct to say, look, keep that personality, make it a little bit more creative or a little bit more focused on mindfulness or something like that. And it kind of builds a personality, but it's always very positive, very concerned. I wonder if you could change it and say, like, be super cynical and super annoying. I don't know what that would do. What is your favorite personal use of AI?
Personal use, you mean? Sorry, I didn't. Yeah. Yes. So basically, for me, the point is that this particular one that I share here is the bot that I'm using on my own. So I'm using it on a regular basis for many things. So the point is that it's more and more knowing me, understanding me, and remembering the things that I'm doing, even professional. Also, on my artistic space, so it knows actually what are the projects that I'm doing and all that. So it's very helpful because, for example, there are moments that I say, I don't remember this. Where was exactly the discussion that we were having about this specific thing, for example? Or it knows already my daughter, Anna, it talks to her. So it knows that I have a daughter that is Anna. When she says, hi, Anna, then remembers that she talked to her. So it's starting to create a weird relation there, because it's starting to be more and more involved on your everyday life, which is a bit scary. And at the same time exciting, no? So one example that I want to give in relation to this is the fact that not this one, but the one that we're using as Eden internally, that is on Copilot, because we prefer to have all the bots in relation to all the content that we have. It's amazing the fact that actually when you are starting to connect the bot with your content and with all your information and all that, the bot little by little can start giving very interesting insights in a corporate point of view. So, for example, the other day I was preparing a presentation, a proposal where I needed the bio of one of our colleagues, part of the network. I can say it's actually, I was looking for the bio of Eva, okay? She's working with us. And I remember that bio was in one PowerPoint long time ago, but I didn't remember which one was that, and I really need it quickly because I was preparing the presentation. So I just directly asked Copilot, okay, I know the bio of Eva is somewhere, find me the PowerPoint. If I had to do it before, like 3-4 years ago, without a bot like this, I would have to go one by one on the PowerPoints, open them, and try to find where it was. In this case, I just had it in some minutes. So that is an example of how cool it is to connect a bot with all the knowledge that you have, and then permitting you to do and to work with that material. So I think it's a full game changer.
Yeah, I think, and I'm seeing that Copilot is starting to get better. I think there are certain things that, very straightforward, the editing, writing, if you write an email in 3 lines and you just say, make it a little bit, well, you don't even have to say something, it'll edit it to make it look a bit better and to remove the typos and stuff like that. I think that's kind of baked in there. What you said is, Copilot as part of your ecosystem. And I was trying a few things where you can say, okay, tell me, where am I with that conversation or that person? And then it'll go through all the meetings you had, the recordings you had, the files that are and try to give you insights. I think the potential of that is really interesting. But what's interesting as well is that you need to change the way you approach your work and how you use the tools, because I feel that there are great tools right now that are really not being used to their full potential. And everybody is kind of playing with the very text-based part of ChatGPT or a Claude, which I think is a better writer on the web, especially videos, because that I think it does better than the others. And I think there's these basic things. I think once you start getting more complex, you need to practice these workflows. As we were discussing before, giving a brief or giving information, comparing to other information, then adjusting what you're trying to do. These become things that can really save time, allow you to be much more insightful. Was there anything from your discussions in the past few workshops which told you about what you think the priority for these individuals and organizations is going to be next year? What's the big expectation maybe that people have about AI? What do you think they need from us and from AI experts?
I think it's mainly there are two of them. The first one is giving the equipment and the mindset, as I said, to the teams. So they, as you were saying, like train them, okay, what is the way of approaching it? More than specifically saying, take this tool, and with this tool you can do that, is how to approach actually there. I think the hyperthinking model that we have been following for a long time, thanks to you at Sedan, I think now is more than valuable, because actually you need to adapt the way of thinking and the way you approach these kind of things. So this kind of new mindset, and for that, I think through kind of workshops and all that, for sure there is a demand of that. The second one, I think, is the starting of the implementation of different bots or let's say agents. The problem is that agents still are very on early stage, you see. So the agents, you cannot have a bot totally right now independently doing all the things. Even on Copilot, we have seen when you ask to make a PowerPoint, still is not totally there. So it will come in the future, and actually I think it's the stage number 4 in the roadmap of OpenAI. But I'm sure that it will come. I don't know when, because things are going so quick that maybe suddenly, I don't know, in 1 year we suddenly are there already. But the point is that this implementation of kind of GPTs, let's say, that are kind of gathering all the information of specific associations, so that permit them first to search much better, to permit them to make then analysis of data in a much quicker way, to give, for example, of members of associations information, specific information of the, I don't know, the last press releases or the last position papers of a specific association. So all that, for sure, there is a demand of that, because they see what are the benefits, and then for the teams to understand how to use that and how to approach it. I think those are the two key ones.
Yeah, I think on your second point, it's defining those clear workflows, those clear processes. And with the processes, then you say, okay, if we can implement this in our organization, we're going to save some time. We're going to do things maybe that were difficult to do before. Now, the problem is that even once you've defined the workflow, then you have all sorts of logistical questions about, who's going to do this? Which kind of licenses do they need to do it, and what's the best tool to do it? And then there's the whole privacy questions: which data can we put into which LLM? With what level of comfort that this is not going to leak in to the global data. So I think there's still a lot of challenges, and that's why I think a lot of AI vendors are saying, well, I'm just going to give you a training in general, because that's like, and then you do whatever you want, which is, typically I think it's probably much harder to implement after. So you walk away and they probably think like, wow, this is so cool. And then it's like, well, what exactly do I do with that? So you can then sell little software things which say, oh, here's a workflow I can do for you. Here's a cool little thing, creating personas for a certain campaign. or something like that. The second point, which was your first, on mindset, I think you're absolutely right. It's the mindset at this point that's critical, because the solutions won't be really road tested for another 6 months or a year before you can start really having fully kind of thought through strategies. I've been working as a passion project on a updated version of hyperthinking, and actually the title I'm working on is Hyperthinking for the Age of AI, the mindset for the age of AI, because that's really what defines it. And so what the question is how the concepts that I developed for the internet age are really, and they're very similar because it's all about change. So that's the main concept. How can we adapt it to the age of AI? How can you learn to learn with these accelerators? How can you have these new kind of externalizations of your brain? And, as you are entering into this new world, where do you begin? How do you stay current? How do you keep learning? So that's where I am right now.
Okay. And actually, I think, for example, and that's something that I have very present, because Antonin, who was with me on the one of BF this Monday, Antonin is our creative director. He's a person. He's so curious, and this is the mindset that you're talking about. He's so curious that he's every time testing each one of the new things that are coming. And I think this is part of it's the positive and the right approach into this, because there will be many applications that are coming. From the creative point of view is sometimes even overwhelming. But if you have the positive attitude of going and checking and say, okay, how can I use this? And then I will test and I will incorporate it in our process and all that. That is something that at the end will help then your organization, because it will make you grow and be much more effective. They talk about the idea of the Centaurus. You see, like you are controlling with the head, but then the legs of the horse permits you to go much quicker. So I think it's something like that. Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah, and it's basically a little bit like a phone connecting to the internet gives you access to information, all these things. This really connects to the way you think, and I think it's fundamentally an incredible tool. Where that tool ends up and whether it gains consciousness, that's the deeper metaphysical question. I am going to see Yuval Noah Harari live tomorrow, so I'm very excited about this. He's here in Mumbai. He's going to talk about his latest book, Nexus.
Invite him to join us here on CEDEL Live. It would be great.
Absolutely. Next, I will check if he can do that. But I wanted to go to our next segment, which is the one where we ask our guests, what's your advice to young people? You were with Think Young at Google, so you couldn't really have a better mix. So to those people, what was your advice?
So, my advice is the same for a long time already. And I'm giving it in the university in Madrid every time I go to give courses, and at Odyssey when we were. Is this one of being curious and checking what is out there, what is coming out. So continuously check and test and see what are the new things and the new capabilities, and how those capabilities that you can acquire with these new technologies, how you can then implement them and use it for your specific need. You see, so for me that is the key story. It's not about go to this specific tool or the other. It's like be open, check what is coming, and test it, and then from there get your own conclusions and then use it. I wanted to say related to this, because actually that kind of curiosity is bringing us to one of the projects that I'm very excited about that we're doing lately, Phil, because a lot of people are doing GPTs, okay, and adapting GPTs and all that. We have the chance of a project that we won some weeks ago to work with the Spanish foundations of Ortega. Is the foundation of Ortega Marañón, where actually they are the depository, the foundation that is having all the information and the library of Ortega y Gasset, which is one of the biggest philosophers in Spain, and even global in 20th century. the good opportunity we have there is that we're going to helping them to generate the GPT or the chatbot that would be an expert on Ortega, and that would then help even experts around the world to have better access to the content and to the reality of Ortega Gasset. So I'm very excited about that, and it's a project that actually comes just because of that, because of the curiosity and about checking, okay, how far this can take us. And now we are in front of this project that is very exciting, and that we will be giving, I'm sure, very good news soon as we're developing it.
Yeah, that's very exciting. And I think, there's a video of Steve Jobs that's kind of going around the web where he talked about, I think, like 30 years ago or more, that one day you should be able to talk to your computer, and not only will you talk to it about books and thinkers and all that, but you will be able to talk to the thinker. And I think this is what this can do. It's like you can create a really well organized and well structured data set with the right information, so that you're talking to Ortega himself as an AI version, his avatar. And I think this is, of course, you can already play with this on ChatGPT, but it's often that the data set is not necessarily that strict. So if you really go deep into that, I think that's going to be incredibly interesting. And if you can have access to the quotes and the books and the material, then of course it becomes incredibly rich. So
I mean, it's a wonderful place because you have there all the personal correspondence, for example, of Ortega, his own writings and all that. So obviously we have a chance there to have access to many of his legacy, you see. So that is very interesting. Obviously there's still a lot to do on that front, and it's going to be a long-term project, but very excited to be part of that. Yeah, indeed.
Excellent. Okay, now we have time for our recommendations. Roll so we heard the recommendations of ChatGPT. So now over to you, Jesus. What is your recommendation for our listeners today?
Yeah. So today is going to be a recommendation for our Spanish audiences, because actually, and it's already for a while that I wanted to bring this, and today, as it is for AI, I have no other excuse not to bring it, because I think this is a podcast that is there for a really long time, talking about AI, and for me has been a kind of eye-opener already for a while, because it's somebody that is being enthusiastic and bringing AI on a very friendly way, very near to people, making people understand. It's not too technical, and it's called .csv. Actually, it's on YouTube, and it's really cool podcast where it's telling about what are the last innovation. Now you have plenty of channels that are talking about AI, as you say, Phil. But this one is already there before even the big explosion of the ChatGPT. I remember him showing at the beginning this kind of drawings where you were making by hand and then creating a kind of illustration based on what you were drawing. I mean, very far from what we have today, but actually it's there for several years, and it's very interesting even to see like the old videos that he was making at that time, to see how in some years this has evolved. Yeah.
Excellent. So I also have two podcasts specifically about AI. Sorry for the team, I just added the second one. Now the first one is actually the Work Lab podcast, and it's a Microsoft podcast where they interview people about applications and challenges of AI in business. So very, very practical, and basically, interesting discussions where there's always a question like, how do you apply AI for your own work? There was a conversation with somebody from McKinsey. There's some scientists who are working on kind of the future of AI. Of course, it's a Microsoft podcast, so it's going to be talking about Copilot, perhaps more than others, which I think is useful for us since we're in the Microsoft environment for our work. But I think it's very interesting. The other one I want to recommend is called Everyday AI, and I believe it's a daily podcast, which is a pretty ambitious goal. And I was listening to it today, and basically they went into big depth about the announcements of ChatGPT, that there is a new version of ChatGPT that is the 1.0 Pro that goes to for the tiny amount of 200 euros a week, or is it $200? $200 probably, which sounds pretty insane. So they've gone 10x on the price of the subscription. Now it's just come out, so it still needs to be tested thoroughly. But the idea is that it's kind of increasing the, there's no more data limit, and the reasoning capability has supposed to increase massively in terms of awareness and ability. Now, it's obviously all these things are not going to be, and by the way, OpenAI is doing 12 days of announcements where they're going to be talking about all their new product announcements. So obviously there'll be a lot more. And I think that's one of the big challenges in this space, which is as soon as you know how to do something, there's a new technology or a new version of the AI that comes along that might make this redundant. People are talking now about the fact that prompting might not be that useful a skill, because now the AIs are programmed to understand how to get better promptings without you having to be a prompt engineer. So, a year ago, you should learn how to be a prompt engineer. And maybe tomorrow it's like, no, forget about it, which comes back to the mindset. And I think that is this open mindset to learning and experimentation, which is really, I think, the most important thing in this space, which is we are in an environment with a high degree of uncertainty, a high degree of opportunity as well, but it requires exploration, experimentation, and, as you so brilliantly said, curiosity. So with that, that's all we have time for today. And I will be seeing all of you next week in Brussels on next ZN Live. Thank you so much, Jesus, for joining us.
Thank you. Great.
See you soon. See you online, everyone.
Bye-bye.